consciousness, it wasn't real quick.
One matrix is everything. It is all over.
The aliens were like, coming up. Our DNA was split, dude,
Yeah,
from
bro.
the fucking Anunnaki.
Missed by the process of elimination, you might determine that we are probably being visited.
Well, you know, maybe some of them did really have some kind of experience or saw something. And
The aliens are like telepathic. I don't even believe this.
From saying extraterrestrials are related to UFOs.
I've had
You could potentially come to the same conclusion. It is the veil that has been pulled over your eyes to blind you forever.
What is going on, everyone? Actually, this probably looks better. Welcome back. It's been about a month since we actually streamed. You know, we've all had our own things going on. I kind of wanted to rebrand the whole channel, so it's no longer my tag, which is Gatekeepers Dymo. We're now Aliens and Conspiracy. We've been pumping out videos, trying to focus more on recording. Jim, you've been kind of off doing. It's football season, so
it's football. It's
yeah.
in full swing.
You know,
I am 2 balls deep in it. You know,
it is great to have you back, though. You know, for tonight and next week, we got a special one as well. Doing weather manipulation and all that. We'll touch on that a little bit at the end of the stream. King Chris, thank you for showing up like always.
Yep.
And Steezo, of course, always here. And special guest tonight, the Great Pilgrim. What's up, buddy?
Hello. Can you hear me?
Who the heck that was?
Yeah, we hear you fine.
Cool. Hello.
Hello. Yeah, it's good to have you on tonight. I do. Thank you, Dog, thank you, Jamie, for pulling that up. Yeah. So yeah, tonight we're gonna do all things paranormal, pretty much. You know, we don't really have. I've got maybe one story that I want to kind of cover, and then we're gonna just kind of branch it out into different topics within the paranormal. I find this stuff super fascinating. More fascinating. Chris and I were just talking about this backstage. How we didn't really it's not really our wheelhouse in that sense. Like obviously being more focused on the UFO stuff and aliens and ETs. But as I started to dig into it a little bit more, I'm like, this stuff is actually and I really do. I'm more of a believer now after this month, kind of listening to this thing. So before I kind of dive into it, and you guys just general thoughts on the paranormal, are you guys more believers? Are you kind of indifferent on it? I'd like to get kind of all of your guys' thought process on it first. Take it, whoever you are.
Well, I think there's definitely something to it. I mean, like I said, I don't have a whole lot of firsthand experience or any stories necessarily. I've got one, but I mean, I'm sure there's something to it.
Jim, you? It looks like you.
Yeah. So not the most prepared, like we established. Football season is happening for me,
good.
And honestly, like you teased for next week's episode, I've been very enthralled with the hurricanes and the storms and weather manipulation and stuff like that.
Well, I guess to simplify it, do you believe in ghosts? Do you not believe in them?
So it's a complicated thing because I'm not a religious man. Ghosts do tend to kind of imply that, but I kind of look at it like other topics that we talk about here, especially with aliens. Like, there's so many accounts and so many, just deep stories from people that I can't ignore.
Well,
I think they have credence.
And Jim, I think when we get to this kind of segment of the podcast, the story I'm going to tell you, because we're friends. I wouldn't just bullshit about this. I've never seen a UFO, but I have had something happen where it wasn't like a haunted situation, but it was sorry to tease everyone, but yeah, it was kind of it was unexplainable, and something that my parents also were involved with. So Steezo, what are your thoughts on ghosts and possession, that type of stuff?
Yeah. So of all the stuff that we've talked about and everything, and videos we've watched, things that I'm like, whether it be either be skeptical of or on the fence. Ghosts and the supernatural is not one of them. I highly believe in this stuff. And I'll tell stories later on some of the stuff that I had the pleasure, or I guess the privilege of going on years ago before it became popular doing a paranormal investigation. Even though I personally at the time didn't experience anything, our research data that we researched later did find some incredible stuff that I was like dumbfounded on.
Yeah.
And then also talking to family members that have had personal experiences, have seen apparitions, or have, had, I guess you'd say, visits or whatever. And just an overall belief from a religious sense and stuff too.
Yeah.
I say of all the stuff that we talk about, I'm more like believing this than anything else, so that's where
I mean, I'm similar in that sense that like this is more, and it obviously fucking Matt.
Ghosts and she. Yep.
No, Matt, it was scheduled for 9. We weren't late this time. But this one specifically I'm biased on because there was something that I had gotten into, but we'll at the back half we'll cover that. Pilgrim, I kind of know your answer, but go ahead, share what
Yes, I do believe very much so. Kind of like you, where I do have a bias because I've experienced stuff, and I don't know fully where I'd land if I didn't. I believe there's something, but like I wouldn't know how much.
Yeah.
Like ghost or something. So but definitely, yeah.
So what we're gonna start with is the Dybbuk box. And Jim, do you mind pulling a Jamie real quick and looking up Dybbuk box?
Sure.
DYBBUK box. So this, Chris, I know you watched the video. This story was fucking wild. So
yeah, it's pretty crazy.
This comes from Mr. Ballin. I will edit the description for people that are on the rewatch so that you guys can go to this story, get a better idea of it. But I'll kind of just bullet point it. This guy who owns an antique shop goes to like some sort of a yard sale, and at any point, Chris, correct me or fill in. But he goes to this yard sale. There's this old lady. It's this old lady's house. And there's this like it's basically a wooden wine like antique like box with 2 doors that you can open on the front, and when you open the doors, it pushes out a cabinet below. And Dybbuk boxes come from Jewish mythology. Fresco, ghost, yes, they are real. Listen to NDE testimonials and read Raymond Moody's Life After Life book. Thank you for that suggestion. And I believe we've seen, was he in our last stream, Fresco? Either or. Thank you for showing up tonight.
Welcome back if you were here before.
Yeah. Sure to hit that like, and if you're not subbed, do it and tell your friends.
So the Dybbuk box comes from.
Can you spell that one more time, please?
Yeah, DYBU. Wait. Sorry. DYBBUK. Yeah, Dybbuk. It comes from Jewish mythology, and what I looked up or read about it was that it's essentially a trapped soul that didn't make it to the afterlife, and it gets stuck in this box. Now, it doesn't have to be like the wine box I'm explaining. This is just particular to the story we're talking about. I've seen also like little jewelry boxes that are also implied as a Dybbuk box. But essentially, this guy gets one at this yard sale, brings it back to his antique shop, and he's like, "This looks kind of cool." Leaves it. He brings it back. Has to go run errands, and leaves the store with his assistant or his employee. And this woman, she has to go down to the basement of their store, and all of a sudden, things start kind of happening. There are like light bulbs that are starting to just blow up in the basement. Things are getting knocked down off shelves. She starts freaking out. She gets locked into the basement. And you know, she's calling the guy who owned the store, like, you need to get back here. You know, she's freaking out, yelling, and then the phone hangs up. When the guy gets back to the store, she's just like sitting in the dark basement, like in shock, apparently. And yeah, so and there's another, I don't know, yeah, exactly, the Jewish folklore. And so basically with this story, you know, so it kind of grows into a bunch of different people dealing with this same box. She's terrified. The guy who owns the store, you know, shows up and it's like, what happened? There's a bunch of stuff broken around the shop. And, you know, I think rationally he kind of blames her. It's like, did you do all this? And she just says, fuck you, and quits on the spot after that. And he ends up, you know, not really thinking twice about it and ends up giving the box to his mom. And, you know, his mom eventually, Chris, because you just watched it. I watched this about a week ago. Was it in her house or was it in the store still and she showed up?
I think it was at the house.
Yeah, so she ends up having a stroke like not too long after getting it. And in Mr. Ballin's story, in his version of the story, she's like constantly looking at the box, has this stroke. The guy ends up realizing, I think he brings it back to his house, right? And I forget exactly what I think he started to kind of see some stuff, but then ends up coming to the realization that he doesn't want anything to do with this. He brings it back to the store, someone buys it, and then like 2 days later, it's back in his store with a note saying there's something really dark about this box. So he posted on eBay. These college kids buy it. They're like not dorm, but their college house. Like a bunch of weird shit starts happening. People are starting to freak out around it. Like, you know, there's also some haunted stuff happening during it, during the time that they have it. They post it on eBay. Some guy ends up purchasing it, right, with a family, like he has a wife and a kid, and he starts seeing like a lady. Correct.
Yeah,
Chris?
he starts having a dream of this lady like poking his eyes out, tearing his eyes out and stuff.
And not only that, he was waking up with like marks all over his body, you know, and bruises. And basically gets in touch with the guy who owned it originally at the antique store. And they both figure out like they need to get a rabbi to come and close the box up again spiritually, which is like reminiscent to an exorcism, in my opinion, you know. And ultimately the box gets trapped away. I had never heard about a Dybbuk box prior to this video. And you know, I think again it's similar to a Ouija board. You know, so I'm going to open it up now on what your guys' thoughts and opinions are about this stuff. But I felt like, you know, I felt like this story was kind of wild. Like,
yeah, so I'd say something similar I've got here, as far as boxes like that and certain things you have to do for it. I don't know if y'all seen this going around the Twitter and whatnot, but apparently this is the actual Annabelle doll that all that shit is based off of. And here they are transferring its case, its box. And
both hands out. I'll take this. As you can see, he's drenching his hands in water. In the name of Jesus Christ, Lord, protect us from any evil inhuman, or demonic entities that may surround this or infuse in this doll. In your Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. And now she's transferred.
So, okay, I am happy you brought that up because there is stigma, like a religious stigma surrounding these things, but I don't necessarily think it's really hard to say whether or not it's specifically a religious thing, because there are people that are non-religious that have, like, there are plenty of stories where people aren't religious at all, and there's some entity, surrounding a house or an object. Now I'm more skeptical of the Ouija board stuff, but I won't ever touch one. Like, I don't ever want to be in the presence of one.
Yeah, there's no need to open yourself up for any potential nonsense.
Yeah. And that's why with this Dybbuk box thing, and I'll actually, let me look it up. I kind of just wanted to get what your guys' thoughts on the story that I had said. I know, Chris, do you
remember how they told the origin of how it actually started? The lady's soul that got binded to the wine box, supposedly. I can't remember exactly what it was.
I forget too. I just remember the whole part about the rabbi. Yeah, I don't remember. I don't remember exactly how her soul got bonded to it. But like some part, I know this stuff sounds, it sounds like wild, but like part of me thinks there's a possibility that this could be true. But more so, Chris, you listen to it. What's your account of the story? Like, what are you thinking?
I mean, I don't know, man. It's one of those things. It's I'm not the biggest believer, but I mean, when you end up having the situation where that many people are having these recorded instances with it, I mean, it's kind of hard to ignore,
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I can't say I necessarily fully believe it.
Yeah, and that's totally fair, So this is the actual. I'm sorry for the quality of the photo, but this is the actual box that they're talking about.
Wine box.
Yeah, it's a wine box essentially, and I should have saved what I had before, but I found an actual website where like you could like buy these different haunted things, and it showed this box. Yeah, a little bit more on the fraud side. The Ouija board. That's pretty funny.
Mamma mia.
Yeah, I don't know, guys. It's I kind of wanted to open this up with the Ouija board and Dybbuk box because those are kind of, well, at least the Ouija board is one of the more well-known things. That one to me is a little bit more. It's a little bit easy to fuck with. Like, it's your hand guiding it. It would make more sense to where you set up. I'd be willing to believe it more if you set up like an arm, wooden arm with the pendulum, hanging off of that, and then you ask questions, and if it starts gravitating, but like what the Ouija board gets me, where it gets me is like it's someone's hand has to be holding it, or everyone's hand has to be holding it.
Yeah, so you don't know who's moving it.
Yeah, and then the classic tale in these stories is like everyone looks at each other like, "Are you doing that? Are you doing that? No, I'm not doing that." So it's like that's a little, I think, far-fetched for me.
Yeah.
There's been accounts though that people have used those to actually communicate with. Like, I don't know. There's just stories, and I mean, they're stories, but they do raise your eyebrows. They pique your interest. Like, sometimes, I find it hard to believe in coincidence, and
yeah.
Well, yeah. So
sometimes.
Go on, Pilgrim.
Ouija boards, I don't know how I feel about them because I mean, at the end of the day, you can find them in Target. You can find them at Walmart, right? You can find them in toy
You
aisle
can
all the
make
time.
them. You can literally draw it on a piece
Yeah,
of paper.
But at the same time, I've also heard from witch doctors, witches, or whatever, that say they will not, even they won't mess with them. And I have heard stories of people who mess with them, and so kind of the same as you were like, I don't know if I fully believe in Ouija boards, but at the same time, I ain't about to go try and find out. Dybbuk boxes, from my understanding, are slightly different, where they're actually like true. How they're used now is more so trolling, witches with
You dropped out.
more accurate witches than
you dropped out
What?
for a second. So you dropped out for a second. So you had said the last thing we had heard was that they're a little bit different. So pick up from
okay.
there.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you. You just dropped out for a second there.
Yeah. So Dybbuk boxes, from my understanding, are actually more used by people who perform spiritual rituals or witches, witch doctors, what have you. More so to basically imprison usually more demonic or malevolent souls. And they're usually like actually sealed. So like you can't open them without breaking the seal.
Which is why it actually makes sense, because at the beginning they said the lady who originally owned it said, "Do not open this box," and he, out of interest, the guy who owned it did open it, and then all this shit started happening.
Yeah. And so like those like Dybbuk boxes, I don't know. Like I found myself more likely to believe in them than I would Ouija boards, but I'm still hesitant. But at the same time, there's also like plenty of crazy stories, like the one you mentioned, or plenty of other ones.
Yeah.
Or this, I think, what's that rapper's name? Or not rapper? Is he a rapper? I don't even know who he does. Post Malone.
Oh, Post Malone.
He got a Dybbuk box, and
yeah,
I think he's within like 3 car crashes within like a couple months of getting it or something. And then he sold it, and then it was totally fine afterwards.
Yeah, I mean, I think it depends on if you actually open it or not, and obviously the question of is it real, and
right.
not in the sense is the Dybbuk box real, but is that specific box that he had purchased, was it real? Or because look, this is one of those areas like where, I mean, it's like looking up on eBay UFO piece, and someone selling it for $500.
What's the authenticity of it?
Yeah, exactly. There's no verification for that type of shit.
Well, here's a good clip that I found for Ouija board. It's extremely convincing. Here.
How many pickles can you shove up your ass?
Jack,
no.
Yep, that's exactly what I would ask.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fucking hell,
That's the Pride Ouija board.
Yeah. 991, 910.
That's Ghostface's Ouija board.
That's hilarious. That could. I've seen that so many times when I've been stuck in the scroll. It's so fucking funny to me.
Yeah. I mean, okay, so there's also a lot of these movies that we've watched, or in horror movies and stuff. They're all based on they're all loosely based on some true stories, Pilgrim, you're more kind of into this stuff. Are there any of these stories based on movies that you kind of want to bring up?
Well, I know like the Conjuring movie. Like I know that I actually haven't seen the movies because I'm too scared. I'm not gonna lie. But I haven't seen the Conjuring movies. But from what I've understood, the first one is actually a fairly decent retelling of what supposedly happened in the actual Conjuring house. Because
Yeah,
it
that's
is an
how I
actual haunted
understand it
house
as well.
with an actual exorcism, and crazy stuff actually went down.
Yeah.
But I can't really tell. I don't know the story off the top of my head very well.
Yeah, and you know, another one is like exorcisms, and that is 100 like Jim, what you were talking about before, how it's connected to religion. That one, and I will have to say, I do, for the most part, believe in like exorcisms and demonic possession, but like I was raised Roman Catholic, so like it's part of that culture, you know, and
100%.
there's also like I should have done a little bit more research on some of these different exorcisms, but I did deep dive into a lot of them this week, and I don't know, man. I might have been wearing some rose colored glasses while I was listening to these, but like, you know, some beer goggles, but you know, I don't know. I tend to. It's not even that I believe, like, okay, let's take away for an instance, like God and the devil. Like, if there are like poltergeist, there are enough poltergeist stories and possession stories to where you have to wonder. And that's kind of similar to like the whole UFO sightings, right? Like a lot of them are bullshit, but then you've got a few of them where like, okay, this is fucking weird, you know, and like this, it sounds like this stuff happened, like haunted houses, which I think are actually just poltergeists, you know, existing in the space that you are. And, you know, when it comes to like aliens and stuff and ETs, like a lot of people think that they're from a different dimension. Like, I'm going to connect this now to like Eric Weinstein's idea of dimensions and how there aren't like 5 levels of dimensions, which is what conventional science says. But like his idea of dimensions is that it's more like a cube, and you've got levels going up vertically, and then you have levels going horizontally, and then you've got planes on both sides, vertically and horizontally. And like we might have access to 5 levels, but we don't have access to the vertical planes of dimension. And that's a layman's way of explaining it. But like, what if poltergeists and ghosts exist in one plane vertically, but we only have access to the horizontal planes? You know what I'm saying? And so, and then aliens or UFOs can travel interdimensionally, you know, through time and space. And maybe poltergeists, spirits, demons, as we call them, are just, we've labeled something that isn't fully in our realm of understanding, you know, and they just exist in a different dimension that we don't have access to physically.
I mean, it goes back all the way down to like, what's consciousness? Where does consciousness go after people die, or you know what I mean?
Right.
Where does it move on to? Where is it? So I don't know. It gets super complicated.
Well, there is, when investigating the paranormal, there are 2 main methods: the spiritual side, or B, there is a more quote unquote scientific side to it, where people use EDM for what's it called? The readers to read for electromagnetic pulses, and or cameras that can detect motion, but they can't see it. I can't remember how they detect it, but there is a scientific method that some people prefer to investigate. People who don't believe in the spiritual side of it, but so I think there's definitely crossover between.
But again, they're using scientific methods to the extent of science that we're able to produce. And my point my point was that if they are existing in a dimension that we haven't found yet, and I know that sounds extremely tinfoil, but that's kind of the whole point of this channel, right? To ask these kind of questions. Like, so if they do exist in a realm of that we can't comprehend yet, or even measure, and if we can't comprehend it, we can't measure it, like how valid is that technology? And then also, and Steve, I'm sure you're gonna have something to say on this, like because with the whole ghost hunting thing, like a lot of these ghost hunting shows, I'm kind of like, this is bullshit. They're like, oh, my little fucking radio
spectrometer,
my spectrometer pinged. I'm gonna go, oh shit, look, and then they start running. They start running through the woods, and
Dude,
it's like
some of those ghost hunting shows really give the whole genre is just such a bad look.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day,
exactly.
So yeah, it's that's kind of my point on it. I think maybe we can move into a little bit of haunted house kind of area. What is this?
Well, I have what's claimed to be a real exorcism.
Yeah, these things are fucking terrifying sometimes.
Yeah. Well, all the lights are on, so that's good.
Yeah, right.
I am stronger. You are not stronger than Christ. You are not stronger than Christ. Get over here, Dad. Grab it. Grab it. You are not stronger. No, you are not stronger than Christ. No, you're not stronger. You are not stronger than Christ. That is sword, this you are not stronger. You are not stronger than Christ. You are not stronger than Christ.
That's a bad methamphetamines, is what that is.
Yeah.
Right? Is that acting? I don't know.
That looks pretty rough to me. I don't know. It's pretty rough.
Yeah, that's hard to
know, right?
It looked too controlled to me. It looked like way too controlled environment. From what I've read on exorcisms.
Well, also typically they're
more violent.
Yeah, and typically
people have died in exorcisms before. That's why they're not. That's why they're hush hush and people don't.
Well, and also the like you're dealing with the Catholic Church most of the time with exorcisms. Yeah. They're not going to just let that footage out. Like
exactly.
There's a few footage. Like
if it were let out. I mean, we would possibly view it the same way we just did that, right? Is that acting? Is this completely fake? Even if it potentially was 100% authentic, we would still be like,
but that's
because you got to take into consideration a lot of these things. Even the Catholic Church will tell you 99.9% of the cases where they tried to go to pursue this, it actually came out where the person had mental illness. It wasn't a demonic possession after investigation. You know what I mean? But it's that 0.1% that you have to figure out.
You said mental illness, right?
Yeah, it was like a mental illness.
Mental illness. Where do I?
What can be unburdened by what has been.
I did that on purpose.
Yeah. Gonna line that
there
up.
You go. I set you up.
Well, and I think it's fair to say that with like footage and stuff, when it comes to footage and quote unquote proof, it's pretty similar to UFOs. Like it's pretty easy to be like, for people to say, oh, this is fake, right? When you're looking at like a UFO image, or video, that like, oh, it's clear, this is acting or this is CGI. That's kind of where I'm at with it. Like when it comes, I do tend to believe more on this stuff than most people, but I'll still stand by that. Like when it comes to evidence, quote unquote, that it's pretty similar when it comes to UFOs.
So how many of us have like somebody, a family member, a friend that, has had to have a place blessed?
My uncle, actually.
I know two of my uncles.
So and I forget what the reason was, and I won't go into the story that I had yet, but with my uncle, they moved into a house in Oregon, and like this is like north of Portland, up in the hills. It was a new house, which is like why I'm like, I don't know if I fully believe this, but his account was that when they moved in this house, there was nothing like violent going on, but like things like they'd see a drawer open, they'd close it.
Yeah.
Then like literally within a few minutes, they'd look back over, the drawer was open or the door was open. And that kept happening. Weird things, things moving on the countertop.
Why is it always a goddamn basement door too?
Well, this is like out in their kitchen, like their bedrooms, like it was happening all over the place.
Yeah.
And where they lost me was they had a medium. I don't believe in mediums. I think that's complete horseshit.
Well,
psychics and all that.
Yeah.
You don't believe in
you know, we brought up mental illness before, and there's a good possibility that these people are extremely delusional. But I mean, if you're spiritual and you know you buy into this, I mean, the possibility of somebody maybe they microdose psilocybin, maybe they've experienced something that enlightened them and opened their minds, and they're able to actually see through other dimensions that we cannot. I mean, maybe the world's not as simple as we think it is.
Well, I'll say I agree with you on that. On at least on the latter, that the world's not as simple as not. I don't think taking a hallucinogen will change that.
Maybe.
But I mean, maybe you're correct. Personally, from my understanding, is that actually most people that experience ghosts or spirits like this are actually children, because their brain and mind is untampered.
Yeah, the imagination runs amok.
It's easier to see these things when you're open-minded to it. That's why you don't ever hear anybody say,
well,
ghosts, what's that? You know, they're
open-minded or naive to it. Like you don't have the social blockers right set up for you, where like, you know, your brain is like a sponge, so they're able to kind of access certain situations, you know. So
well, my initial point with the question is, I feel like we all at least know someone who's experienced stuff like this, who may have even gone as far as trying to bring in a priest to try to cleanse the house, try to bless the home. You know, I've had actually one uncle, 2 of his houses, and my mom to this day will actually tell you about how eerie that house was. And like there's a weight, there's a presence, and it's making my hair stand up right now. But like you could feel it, you could taste it. Like there was something ominous that was just there, you know?
Well, and okay, so like a lot of times when you go to like historical battlefields, people will say the same thing. When thousands of people died in one area, people feel like a weight on the shoulders. They feel cold.
Right. But not ominous, though. I don't think.
Sometimes ominous.
There's an eerie feeling. Like I think I mentioned one time about I've been to Pearl Harbor, Ground Zero in New York.
Need to go to Gettysburg.
Little Bighorn and all that.
I've been to Pearl Harbor.
And it's a definite weird way. It's like a very unique or surreal feeling when you're at those places. Like you're in a moment. It's like you're standing in a place where something big happened, and it's like a negative thing. You know, and it's a different feeling, but it's current time. You know, it's like a current time, even though you're safe, but you do have some psychological effect from that being at that spot. I will say that. At least I did. I don't know if everybody does, but it's definitely like a feeling that kind of is a weight on your shoulders, you know?
But
like there's a different density to the air, and like Your
Yeah, it's just
hair
a
is
weird feeling.
you're almost in a anxiety prone kind of fight or flight at any moment. You know, you're putting into that heightened state of awareness. You know, and
well, so one
that's hard
theory.
to. Go ahead.
Go ahead. One theory as to what ghosts, whatever, what they are, is it's and it kind of ties into what Dami was saying about them existing outside in another dimension, where something dramatic happened in this person's life, their soul or something gets stuck in kind of like a time loop. So for them, it's like replaying the same events over and over again. Whereas to us, it's the time's moving along. And when that happens, again, it's all theoretical, of course. It creates some sort of portal or weakness within the barriers between the dimensions.
Yeah,
that makes you be able to feel those things. It makes you be able to interact with some things theoretically.
Sure.
Of course.
Yeah, they call those residual hauntings. Where
yes.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if anyone's there.
Like an echo.
It's an echo. It's going to keep playing itself, and you see a lot of like like
Supernatural did that.
So exactly. Yep. So like if you see people see ghosts all the time at the Gettysburg battlefield, right? Let's talk a place of dread, right? I've never been there.
It'd be weird if you didn't.
But like in the early mornings, some people actually will hear sounds of cannon fire and smell black powder. That's a freaking trip to me. So now you're getting something like, how's it coming into our plane of existence? And it's just like a foggy morning, and they'll see figures, people in period uniforms and stuff, and it keeps playing itself out whether they're there or not. You know, I mean, that's a residual haunting. Whereas like an intelligent haunting, you're talking like someone's touching you on your shoulder. What's up?
Well, like, isn't there? I'm not. Never claimed to be like an astrophysicist and stuff like that, but isn't there a thought process that past, present, and future all exist in the same kind of plan? Like, this is way out there, but
I might need a blunt for this one.
Yeah. Maybe we should have all smoked a bowl before doing this stream. Yeah. But I don't know. I was gonna kind of go into something that like
I've got something real quick, and then we'll do your pivot though. You brought up souls, and whether they're trapped in a loop or they're lingering. I would like to examine our personal thoughts on what a soul is, because there's actually something that's measured after death as well. Is there still electromagnetic activity happening around the body that fades at a far slower rate? Again, personally, is not a religious man at all, but things like that, and the concept of a soul. Like you see it in dogs. Like you could feel what a soul is, but what happens when you die? Is it trapped? Does it go somewhere? Does it dissipate eventually? Because, like I said, it's measured like something's lingering there. Whether or not that's the soul, I don't know. Maybe that's just your residual, because you grab a hold of a voltmeter, you actually have electricity.
Well, I was going to bring that up, that like, I don't know.
We're getting deep here, but
the soul question's hard to answer. I mean, this is one of those questions that are like, what's the meaning of life, right? Like it really does come down to subjective means, because you can't really answer this stuff scientifically. But I will say there are certain things that like they don't really, that you can't really explain about life and humanity. The fact that we are we are conductive, with electricity, you know, and it's measurable in that sense. Like our neurons work that's why you can plug in something like the Neuralink and it works because it's using like essentially low voltage.
Your own, yeah.
Yeah, and there's
what about the people that could take tasers like
yeah,
nothing?
and that's and then also when someone's on a drug like PCP and they can just run through it multiple tasers because something's accessed in their brain. And this is where I kind of wanted to bring it to with the brain and like you know, the pineal gland, which we don't really know what it does in the brain, but we do know that that's where like most of the natural DMT in our body reside.
Right. That's
and DMT synthesized through different
resides
plants,
or produced
and resides. Like that's where it sits and it's produced, and
it's
that's
stored.
that's what causes our dreams. And then on top of that, it's DMT is found in like pretty much all life forms, and the like plants that have a lot of it you can extract and then smoke as a drug, but it causes you to go into a deep sleep and have these like hallucinogenic dreams, quote unquote. But like, are you not just what if that's just like you're hyper doing, like you're basically, like, in my opinion, if it's already in our brain, what you're doing is just overloading your system with it, and then you're going into sleep. And so there's this connection between not electricity, but God, I wish I was
electromagnetic.
Yeah, like something like that. Like there's something going on between your brain and the neurons that have something to do with electricity, and then DMT being, and that's what's producing your dreams when you're sleeping. And when you smoke this drug made of the same stuff that's found in your brain, and then you have these like really intense hallucinations, but it's the same stuff that you're creating naturally every night. It starts to make you like, what if that's my whole point in that tangent is like, what if that's the soul, you know, like what if your soul sits in the pineal gland, you know, or something like that.
Right.
Yeah, that's like super far out. But you know, I thought that's kind of the closest thing I can come to for an answer to that question.
Yeah,
that's a good one. I mean, I mean, like you said, we get into this stuff, you're getting deep, and then you kind of, you know, you can start going different directions and everything. But
sure.
I honestly think, even though like you talk about the supernatural stuff, I think that this stuff, just like anything else we talk about, like, you know, aliens also, I think there is a scientific answer to this stuff. I just don't think that we can, you know, record it, or just like this. So like, you can't see all the different types of light, right? We can't see ultraviolet. We can't see infrared.
Yeah,
we have we have equipment that can pick that stuff up, right? Same thing with sounds. Animals can hear different sounds that we can't as humans, but you use those recorders and you can pick up sounds that our ears aren't sensitive enough to hear. I think there's stuff out there that we can eventually do, but it's kind of like we're kind of throwing stuff at the wall and seeing what sticks, because we don't really know what kind of stuff that's why they try different cameras and different spectrums and stuff, and you'll see them pop up on different cameras. Sometimes it's night vision, sometimes it's a closed circuit TV, sometimes it's pictures, a Polaroid camera, but you see different things, and sometimes you don't. And that was one of the things I learned back in my investigations. Like, there's no timetable. They don't have a schedule. They show up, or things you see at the experience happens. Sometimes it's happening and we don't sense it around us, but later on review, it's like, holy shit, there was like a dude right behind me, or like an orb light or something, you know, and it came up in a picture. But I believe there is a scientific thing. I think this stuff, I think we're kind of in there, especially with like the soul. And you were talking about like after you die, because we are conduits of energy and stuff like that. I think that our soul definitely does go someplace, and you can feel it really. If you talk to people that work in the medical field, like nurses and doctors, when people die, they literally, my aunt was an RN for years, and she saw plenty of people pass. And she says when they pass, you could totally just like literally see like the soul, not see it, but you could feel it leave and separate from the shell of the body. Not all the time, she goes, but a lot. You could see where it left, and you could feel the room felt different for a while, and then it went back to normal, but there was just a body shell there. But you could feel some sort of feeling that you got because you're alive, that you sense that energy or something, that it's something was leaving that and it went away. You know what I mean? And that's coming from somebody who wasn't related to somebody dying. That was just a worker that was there, and you could sense that. You know what I mean? So I think there is a scientific explanation. I believe that while we're alive, I believe obviously we're conduits of energy, and I believe that after we go on to the next realm, I think we're still a type of energy, but I think we pass off into what would some people would call a different dimension, different plane, whatever, you know.
So, before I play this video, Pilgrim, I want to give you a chance to answer that question about like what a soul is. Do you think there's the possibility of residual like spirits and stuff?
Like, is that what creates a ghost or
Yeah. So I mean, again, it is hard to really, maybe even possible for us to comprehend what a soul really is, other than
And see, I want to expand on that real quick, and this comment kind of, I think the way, just like he tried to frame it in the most intelligent way that we could possibly, decipher this, I don't think is on the same plane of what's required to truly comprehend this, because we're thinking of it as signal links with TV or internet or something like that. But I don't even think it's close to that. I think that's the closest thing that we could comprehend. But I think it's something entirely different.
Yeah, but it's not a horrible analogy to what he's saying.
No, I understand that, but I think it's in a different realm of its own,
Yeah. So Pilgrim, I see your mic's off. Are you still there? You want to answer this? If not, I'm gonna.
Yeah, please continue.
Yeah, 1 sec. Someone just pulled up to the house.
No, you're fine. But yeah, what are your thoughts on souls?
Yeah, so I do think I think it's something, right? Of course, there is, the side that I am Christian, right? And so I do have my own beliefs and biases, right?
Yeah.
But I think I'm even like what Diesel was saying, right? Like people like seen death, like you can just feel them, like you can feel it. And I think I don't know. I mean, like I don't know if there is part of our bodies that store the soul, like you were saying, Daimyo, or if it's just like in us, like like in our bloodstreams, or like I don't know if it's like one particular part or just our entire body. Like I don't know, and I would imagine there has to be some sort of scientific answer in some way or another.
All I can really touch on that is that like my grandma about 5 years ago, she got sick, passed away, but she did hospice, and my grandma was one of like most grandmas, most loving people, especially to their grandchildren. She kind-hearted, like, and you can feel the love in her eyes, when she looks at you, that type of thing. So she did hospice, and like I watched her pass, and it's like there's something there where like you when you're sitting there and you see, like, you feel it, like you feel something that's it's unexplainable. I'm not even gonna try to explain what I felt, but
when you watch someone get killed,
they're gone.
Yeah.
But you even have people who like wake up to their spouse being dead, but like they wake up knowing that they're dead.
Yeah, it's
right.
And there's a lot. It's just giving me chills just talking about this. And
what about the mom thinking you're dead in a ditch?
Yeah, it's like they're like when it comes to death, like it's really odd. Like there's something unexplainable about it, and like
measurable by a device in our bodies or our
yeah, and
brain
then
that we don't comprehend.
I'm sure all of us here have, like, we're all old enough to really know and like experience it a lot. Like when it comes to funerals, like you go up to the cask, is that correct?
Yeah,
Casket.
casket.
You go up to the casket, you're paying your respects, but there's a feeling of emptiness that, like, that's not the person that you loved or knew.
Also closure though too.
It's closure, but that it's more for the people alive than it is for the, like
100%.
it's
Yep.
closure, but you walk up there, it's not the same feeling as seeing your grandpa or your loved one giving you a hug or walking up to you. Obviously, like there's something missing there. It's just it's a cured
Empty
body.
vessel.
Yeah, exactly. And that's kind of what
Empty
I'm
vessel.
touching on, that like there, and especially like with my grandma and like the at the hospice, like in her living room where we were raised, like watching her pass there when it did happen, and we knew she took her last breath and it was reading on the screen. You just know, like you're like it's done. And people react differently, but everyone felt the same feeling of an unexplainable, just like that's why they call it passing, I think. And I think the term passing came from religion, right? But you're passing on to the afterlife, but yeah, that's I think one of the closest answers I can get to the soul, right? Because the soul, and that's why I wanted to bring this up, because the soul, like, it leaves, and there's a feeling that comes with that too when you're in the room. Like it's different than when you hear someone passed away, but when you're standing there, like looking at it happening, like their soul or whatever, like that you brought up, it's gone. Like that person is no longer there. It's a really weird feeling.
I didn't get that feeling. I was myself and the rest of my family was around in the hospital around the bed when they took my dad off life support. And I didn't, obviously, I mean, we were so caught up in our emotion because it was sudden. He went from like
unexpected.
It was definitely unexpected. We were sitting at the hospital to go visit him. It was on Thanksgiving Day, like 5 years ago.
Man.
And he went into the hospital because he was having, I think he died from COVID, but that's just me because it was before the outbreak, a few months before. But I think he might have got one of the earlier strains because it was all the symptoms. And they said he has some virus that we don't know yet. We've sent off for cultures, but we don't know. And he just he's not responding. Then we were all sitting there that morning to go see him and stuff. And we heard code blue, and then they came and got us, and we went in there, and they're like, they were working on him. They said, hey, you know what? We're trying to let him go back on his own, but it's not. We're basically keeping him alive. And so we had to make the call. We all just said goodbye, but we were so like shocked and stuff. I think in the emotion, it wasn't like, I think maybe if he was like gonna die and we had time to prepare for it, I think I might have witnessed more of something like him passing or whatever, where we were so all caught up in our feelings and tears and everything you could think of that I didn't get that feeling of what you're talking about like you did with your grandma. But I know people who have been there that have witnessed people that felt that uplifting moment where the spirit leaves the body. But I didn't feel at that time because I was emotional wreck. We were all just like,
what
the hell is going on? So that sometimes that'll interfere with those senses. But I know, like I said, I've talked to plenty of people who have been there with loved ones. I know my cousins were there last year when their dad, my uncle, passed away from cancer, and he was in hospice at the house, and they were there when he took his last breath. And they said they felt that whole thing of him leaving and stuff. And then when they went in there to his funeral, it was him in the casket, like you said. It was a show, whatever. But my cousin told me, he goes, dude, I already know he's gone. I felt his spirit leave, and he's been gone for like almost a week, and that's just a shell. I'm not tripping, but it is what it is. I'm trying to respect whatever, we're here. But it was weird to hear him tell me that, because I'm like, dude, this is the last time you're going to see your dad. He goes, no, the last time I saw my dad was last week. That's just a show. And that's what he said to me. And I was like, dude, like, I didn't get that feeling. And, my dad I knew that was going to be the last time in the hospital I was going to see my dad, because he requested he wanted to be cremated. So I knew that was it. So we kind of spent some time there. But yeah, it's different for everybody. but like I said, that's why, I hear your experience you had with your grandma and like stuff that my aunt told me about her being a nurse all those years and seeing things happening where you're not emotionally attached to the person. So you're kind of open to that. Plus she's religious, but she was able to have a lot of experiences of that, of spiritual awakening, I guess, or whatever, or being in touch with a body leaving this realm, or like a person's spirit leaving this realm.
Yeah.
And then it just becomes a shell. That's what you're basically,
And that's the whole point of it, right? That of what I want, why I even brought this up is that there's an unexplainable, you can't.
Right.
No, go on.
There's something that's there, something extra that's unexplainable, and I think it ties into the paranormal. But just before we pivot, I do want to say, like, my experience with that, with my grandmother, whom we were extremely close. I was not able to be around the bed. A lot of my family was. I have a huge family, but a lot of my family was. It just so happened to be the very first day I was working a legitimate job, like paying taxes on the paycheck job. I was 15, and when I clocked out and I got picked up by my mom, I already knew.
Mm-hmm.
Like I felt it. Like something was off, something was like not right. And when my mom told me when she picked me up, I already knew.
Yeah, that's interesting.
I've had a similar thing. Yeah.
Go on, Pilgrim.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, I've heard similar things. So far, I've been extremely blessed and lucky. I've only lost 2 people in my family. I've lost more, but like ones I didn't know and that distant, whatever. But lost my great grandmother and my aunt, and both times both times happened during the night, and I just wake up and like I know already somehow. Like it's this feeling, like it's a
intuition.
Oh, like a heavy feeling that's like, okay, they passed, and then sure enough, I come out and like, after a while, my mom comes out and tells us, yeah, they're gone. But yeah, same thing. Where like, you can like, you don't have to be present. You can just know somehow.
Was it for you? Was it a slight bit of relief? So to preface that, for me and my grandmother, she was struggling leading up to that. So again, it wasn't a huge surprise, but for me there was a sense of relief to, like, finally, she can rest, she can relax. It's
yeah,
she's
same
led
thing.
an amazing life.
Yeah, my great grandmother, she was like 98. No, she's 95, I think. And then my aunt, she got breast cancer, and then at one point decided that she couldn't deal with the chemo anymore, so she's just going to give up.
Sure.
So it was a relief. Yeah.
Well, and
so it was that feeling.
Not to get too into that subject. Yeah. Sorry. Go on, Pilgrim. Sorry. No, you're fine.
No, I was done.
Right. No, I didn't mean to cut you off. I
was done. No, like, yeah, just like there is that feeling.
I was gonna say, like, my grandma was in the same situation. That, like, she chose. I think they call it like code blue or something like that, where like they choose to, when they're done, they decide. You pull the plug. That's what happened. Like, we were all standing around. It's that person's right, and to what you were saying, Jim, too. That like she lived a good life. Same situation, like.
Yep.
So I really wish. I really wish Chris was here for this part, because he provided this video for us. I'm almost sure something was going on. I think he's got some stuff going on, but
You have to message in private chat.
Yeah, he had to drop out.
He'll be back.
I'm sure he will.
Little car problems with the.
Yeah.
He's got to go handle that. Be a man.
Yeah. Oh, I see now. Well, shit. Should I save this then?
Yeah, save it. We can come back to this.
Yeah, we can circle back.
Okay. Okay.
To describe what we're looking at.
I guess we could do a light pivot.
Yeah. Yeah. You have something for us, Jim?
Well, what I have is a hard pivot. But I guess I could kind of steer us. So we're talking about souls and the connections that we feel and experiences that we've all had. And I just think there's something greater at play. There certainly could be, right? And to tie into paranormal stuff, what is all that? What if a soul gets stuck? What if it gets trapped? What if it gets tormented? What if it's
this is
a violent, malicious death or something like that? There's something with basements that's always funny, but where do you chain someone up?
So
you don't do it in the living room.
To take your pivot, Pilgrim, we were talking before in DM. You wanted to talk about the Cecil. Is that a hotel?
Hotel. Yeah, the Cecil Hotel. Yeah.
Go ahead. Yeah. Take this because I think that kind of goes into. I imagine there's some sort of history behind why it's haunted. Correct?
Yes. Yes. A long history. Yes. Just hear me right.
Yeah. Take the floor. I'm pretty sure it has something to do with what Jim had just brought up right there. Okay, maybe we don't hear you. Are you? I'm gonna drop you and bring you back in. You there, Pilgrim?
Technical difficulties.
Yeah, we'll just buffer for a little bit here.
Am I back?
Yeah, you're back now. You're back now, brother.
Okay, let me try this.
And if you want me to share anything, just send it to me in DM, and I'll pop it up on the screen.
Is this the Cecil Hotel that's in LA?
Yes, it is. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah,
we hear you fine.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So downtown LA. It's right where would later become known as Skid Row.
Mm-hmm.
Was opened as a luxury hotel on December 20th, 1924. It would decline as the Great Depression came around and became a budget hotel that would gain a reputation of many deaths and suicides. The first suicide was in 1927 with a gunshot to the head. Another one with poison, another gunshot, someone slit the throat, jumped from windows. And so this person, she jumped from a window and got wrapped in the telephone wires. Jumped from window, poison. In 1944, a woman named Dorothy gave birth to a boy, and thinking he was stillborn, she threw him out the window. She was later let go because found non-guilty because she was mentally unwell.
That'd be considered.
Yeah. Another three more jumped from a window. In 1962, another woman jumped from the window, but she landed on a man walking below, killing them both. In 1964, a woman was beaten, was sexually assaulted, and then stabbed.
Jesus Christ.
Jumped. Another person is either jumped or pushed. They're not exactly sure.
Is this the Bates
Another
Motel,
one jumped.
or what the hell is this?
Cecil Hotel.
Oh.
Cecil Hotel.
Not one, but two serial killers, while they're active, stayed there. One was Jack Unterweger. I don't know how to say that. He's Austrian.
I was going to say that's not Jack the Ripper.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no. He'd kill prostitutes with their own bras by strangling them. Killed 11 of them. Yeah, very pleasant, nice dude. Sounds like he's actually that is a crazy story. Actually, he killed, I believe, his wife. The same fashion, was sent to prison, but then was a model.
He sounds like a
Jack,
liberal.
I mean, Jack Unterweger, Unterweger, Unterweger.
Got it. All right. Continue.
He was sent to prison, but because he's a model citizen, he got released.
He was a model citizen.
Yeah, because he cleaned up. He played well. He all the rules.
He cleaned up.
Nice, but yeah. There's no woman around, right? And then actually, so I think I don't know the exact number, but there's a few more of those murders in Austria. But then he went to LA as a journalist investigating prostitution. They got her they did rioters of cops to the red light districts. But where he secretly more.
Pause for a second. It's funny that he gets into investigating prostitution. He's probably saying that I know a whole lot about this stuff.
Sounds like
yeah.
You ever watch Dexter? Like he's right there in the mix for the stuff.
Yeah.
He's like, I know a lot about this. But continue. I was just making a cheeky joke.
Yeah. So then, ended up killing 11 women. Then Richard Ramirez, also known as the Night Stalker, killed at least 16 people. Also robbed and sexually assaulted them as well. He would stay in the hotel long term, and he kind of used it as a base of operations. There's reports of him coming in either in his underwear or fully naked to the hotel because he'd dump his clothes in the dumpster, and then just go and chill in his room. There is a rumor that he killed one person in the hotel, but that was never confirmed. He's also expected to have killed a lot more, but it's just 16 confirmed that he killed.
Yeah.
In 2011, they'd renamed the hotel to Stay on Main Hotel to try and distance themselves from the past.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately for them, the most famous death had yet to happen. Where, let me see if I can get this link. Second. There we go. Copy link.
You're talking about this hotel here, right?
Yes. All right. I sent a link in the chat. You can pull it up in a second if you guys want.
Yeah.
For the most funniest case is January 28th, 2013. Ellis Lamb checked into the hotel because she was from Canada and she was there. I think she's backpacking is what she's doing. Go ahead and pause the video real quick. Play it in a second. So she initially had to share a room with a roommate. However, her roommate complained about the whole about what her lawyer would rather describe as certain odd behavior, whatever that's supposed to mean. And she was moved into her own room for 2 days. On the 31st, when she was supposed to check out, she never did. And then she had been calling her parents every day. She never called her parents. So they checked in with the hotel, asking if she had been seen. They'd seen her, and they'd seen her alone, but not recently. But a woman named Katie Orphan, manager of a bookstore that's nearby, said that she was there earlier that day. She described her as very outgoing, very lively and friendly, and she's getting gifts to take home to her family. The police looked through, so they couldn't find her. So the police looked through her room and kind of went to the hotel, but there was not enough evidence to suspect to warrant getting a warrant.
Mm-hmm.
So they just kind of did a pretty broad search through. But on the 13th, the LAPD released this video, which you can go ahead and play. You might want to do a double speed or something because it is kind of a longer video.
Yo, this is already creepy.
Yeah, she's tripping, bro.
Yeah.
So what is she saying here?
She's waiting for a victim. My guess.
Wait, so she's the killer?
No.
Well, no. So look at that.
I remember this.
Do you? Okay, yeah. Yeah, 'cause from what I've heard, it's actually a pretty big thing.
Yeah, it made national news. I remember this. I think I know. I'll let you tell the story though, just to make sure it's the same one. I don't want to ruin it.
Whoa! Yeah. What the fuck is she doing here?
I've never seen this video though.
Yeah, it's trippy to say the least.
So what is she doing here though? Is she?
We don't know.
It looked like she's tweaking.
That was.
Yeah, she looks.
Yeah,
like
so the video was put out.
But she's not the killer.
No, she's the victim. So then during the search for her, a few days later, guests at the hotel began complaining about the water pressure, and some said it's colored black and had an unusual taste to it.
Ugh.
Yep.
This is the one.
Yeah.
One.
On the morning of February 19th, a maintenance worker found her body in one of the 4,000-gallon tanks located on the roof, providing water to guest rooms, a kitchen, and the coffee shop.
That's disgusting.
I know.
The black. So they're drinking her
decomposing body.
Yeah.
Right.
and showering in it.
Yeah, showering in it, drinking in it, like
should I
their
grab
coffee, their food, like anything that had water in it, like the whole system was contaminated.
Yeah, I remember because they had to clean the whole thing out, like have professional people come and replace a bunch of shit. And,
yeah.
It was a crazy story.
Through the hatch, he's able to see that she's lying face up in the water. She's completely naked. Clothing similar to what she's wearing in the elevator video was floating in the water next to her, coated in like a sand-like particulate. Her watch and key were also found with her. There's no evidence of physical trauma, sexual assault, or suicide. Also, the only drugs or anything found in her system was prescription drug. Yes, or something like I think ibuprofen was found in her system.
Yeah. Well,
her phone was not found in anywhere, her body or the hotel room. And then the only way to access the roof is through a door, which has a key, and she didn't have the key on her or anything.
So
go ahead.
No. Finish up.
But that's pretty much the end of all the negative stuff that's happened there.
Did they? I can't remember what the final verdict was on that case. Did the police rule it a suicide or a homicide, or they don't know?
I think it was closed as an accidental suicide. But then there's like the video, like she seems like she's tweaking out or something.
Yeah.
But then they didn't find any drugs in the system or any alcohol or anything.
Well, I personally think she's fucking seeing something and talking to someone.
That's what
she's possessed.
Yeah, I think either like an actual person, like a physical, being person, or something else. Also, the mood. Like her roommate said, like she's acting like how'd you say it?
Well, at first it looked like she was hiding from something. So it looks like she looks out the hallway, sees something, whether it's physical or not. She sees something, she then hides, and then it looks like she's like welcoming it into the into the elevator. That's what I see. And so, and given the history prior to that, one thing I wanted to ask, correct me if I'm wrong, but you had mentioned that like this hotel is like right in front of Skid Row. Is that?
Yes, it's right where Skid Row. Yeah.
This is way out there, but like, what if like that? All of these like dark, the lives taken and people that have been there, and bless you.
Oh damn!
That was a
I thought I muted myself.
Yeah, shit. If I had don't put that evil on me, Bobby. I would have played that clip. But what, like, again, this is far out, but like, what if Skid Row being right in front of that area like is not a coincidence type of. That's kind of where I was going with that statement.
Yeah, no, I mean, maybe, right? Like, again, like we don't really know. So, like, who's to say? Like, maybe there is, maybe there isn't. But I mean, that's pretty much the history of the hotel. And from what I could find, there wasn't necessarily anything drastic with the hauntings. Just the typical doors shutting, lights going on and off, knocking on the door, knocking on walls. Of course, like, all the crazy stuff, right? But for the hauntings, it's not like anything crazy or really out there. But it is either like kind of circle back to souls, right? There is seemingly something about the hotel. At the very least, a lot of dark things have happened at that hotel, and it's one hell of a coincidence that, like, I mean, like, I don't know the actual odds, but like statistically, how likely is it that two serial killers stay at the same hotel while they're active serial killers? And I think it's from like the first guy was in their late 80s, and the next guy was in there by the early 90s. Like, they're pretty close to each other. And so, is it, if kind of like souls, souls, ghosts, whatever you want to call it, so kind of from everything I've heard and read and seen, what my theory is that when you're killed or go suddenly, whatever happened, it leaves fragments of your soul in a way, or echoes. That it's maybe not necessarily your soul. Maybe it's fragments of it that, like, maybe even more, it's the emotions of it. Right, like, and that's what, because maybe you can have like I doubt, like, very much so, that like all these people that kill themselves were bad people. But maybe, when they did die, those feelings of anger or despair or whatever drove them to do that, those feelings somehow manifested themselves into some sort of echo that just makes this place some sort of, I don't know, like hellhole, or whatever you want to call it.
Well, no, I mean,
that's how most hauntings would work. Again, in my theory, that's how most hauntings would work.
Yeah, and still there's a gap between like what's actually causing it. But again, like there's hundreds of cases of this. I'm gonna switch it up a little bit here. Steezo, you've done a little bit of ghost hunting, right?
I did, dude. I did back before it became like in vogue. So back many moons ago, in the 90s, I took a college class, and one of the projects that you could do was to go on a paranormal investigation, and I thought that was really cool even back then. So I contacted a local chapter, and they were able to get me in to do a investigation of a place they investigated before. It's called the Sacramento Theater Company in Sacramento, California. You can look it up on Wikipedia if you want. Basically, it's been a well-known hotspot in that area, and this group of people had me come along. They taught me a lot. I mean, I always believed like in spirits and stuff at the time, but I didn't realize anything. This is before any of those ghost hunter shows. So like the equipment they use, I didn't know anything about EVPs, and they had like regular like those same thing I would use in class to record like college speeches or stuff. They would just play that and to record it. I learned they used Polaroid cameras, dude. Snap and no like spectrum analyzers, none of that stuff.
Yeah.
They used basic tools because this is the 90s, man. So stuff that you could buy over the counter pretty cheap, because it's nowadays you see these guys using this high-tech stuff, FLIR cameras and night vision, tens of thousands of dollars worth of equipment, right? But anyways, I got to go, and it was myself and like 8 other people. 4 of them were in this group. The other 4 were kind of like, I was one of the other 4 that were guests. We broke up into teams, went in there as guests, whatever, and basically kind of went in about 10 o'clock at night and stayed till about, I want to say 3 to 4 a.m. Moved throughout. I was staged with one of the actual investigators. They kind of gave me a quick run around what was going on. Went to 3 different places that we had to go. We all rotated it like once an hour. We would rotate where we were at. So there was the main stage, there was backstage, and then up in the audience, the top tier, because it's a 2-tiered like theater basically, where they have plays and all that.
Yeah.
Well, there's a well-known spirit that resides at the place named Pinky, nicknamed Pinky, and there's they say about 5 different spirits that are at that theater company, and they're all benevolent. That's the cool thing. And this Pinky one is a prankster, and it'll actually, sometimes the people that work there and see it, it'll come and actually form like a almost like a fog, like a small pink cloud. That's where it's got a name, almost like a cigarette puff, and you'll see it. Like they'll take pictures and you'll see it. I didn't see it while I was there, but they all believe that these spirits are former like workers or theater hands that really loved working there, and so it's actually, that was one of the things I was talking about. We're talking about possession, that their spirits are actually attached to this location because you can have a negative reaction, like a haunted house, and then you can also be so strong. That's why you hear a lot of people say, "Oh, well, that's the original owner of this house's spirit still here," because they had such they built this house, and so their blood and spirits into this house. So that's where that comes from. But anyways, went through the whole thing. We sat there. I sat in the audience. It was a great experience. We did the EVP session where we asked questions hopefully to get a response. The crazy thing is during that time, I never felt like I didn't have an experience at that moment. Well, during the investigation, upon review, which we did about a week later, we gathered all the evidence and everyone, you got to record stuff and all that, is where I was blown away, because we got audible answers to our questions that were direct answers, where they literally answered my question. We asked their name. They said their name. How long have you been here? And I was sitting with the girl, and I had another person's voice that you could literally hear within seconds after they were answering our questions and intelligently, and but very almost kind of like, it wasn't like conversation. It was one word or a quick phrase, and they didn't answer it all the time. But the fact when I said, "How long have you been here?" and they were saying, "We've been here," or the response was, "A long time." And it's clear as day, you could hear it. And there's no way that, these are tape recordings. There's no way you could digitally back then in the 90s, like dub it in and overlay it or anything.
Right.
But there was, and not in my group, the other group, when they were on the center stage, they flashed out where we were at, because we were shooting a Polaroid towards the stage, and, we're looking, we don't see anything at the time, wait for the photos to develop. When someone shot out photos during our EVP session, there was orbs totally that I couldn't see with my eye, but you could see them totally like floating around us, like orbs probably about the size of a grapefruit, just floating around, like doing different positions and stuff. And they were like, they thought that's what was like, literally now when I think about it, it gives me goosebumps. It's been almost like 28 years since I've done this. And I'm still remembering, I can still remember this shit. So to me, like the experience was, I was blown away because there was other ones, like other answers. They were actually told me, they said, you know what? You're actually really fortunate. We've done this a bunch of times. Most people do not get experiences or have this kind of luck. He goes, there's a lot more strikeouts on investigation than there are wins. And they said, we got a bunch of evidence just on this one visit, visual, the pictures, the orbs, and then the EVPs that we got out of our sessions, because we were the only group that got answers out of the EVPs. And like I said, these spirits and stuff, they don't have a schedule. They don't show up whenever, or they're not always there, so that's what they really stressed on me. Like, this is something that isn't common. It doesn't happen a lot. So like when I see these ghost hunter shows that come out years later, get popular on these channels like Travel Network and Sci-Fi, I start laughing because they go in there and everybody on all the teams, when they split up, are all having experiences simultaneously.
Yeah, exactly.
So I was like, hey, maybe these are just really, because there are some spots that are way more like have stuff happen than others. But it's the way I look at it too. It's kind of like a lot of these other things. Just because you go out and camp at night for a week in Arizona looking up in the stars doesn't mean you're going to see a UFO, right? It's kind of the same thing with the ghost hunting thing. The way it was explained to me was that, we were very fortunate. I feel now, knowing what I know now about it, was that even though I didn't have a personal, I really wanted to be scared, dude. I wanted something to touch me on my ear or shoulder, or tell me to get the fuck out in my ear or something,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I wanted to have that feeling, right? But I didn't get that. And the thing was, I knew at that place I wasn't going to get it because they made really sure that those spirits at that place at least were benevolent. They told us they've investigated other places before where there's malevolent spirits that they will go ahead and you will get like physically, could get physically harmed. They do try to like whatever. And I was like, I'm good, dude. I got what out of this. And so I got an A on my report. I did.
Yeah, no. Okay. So I think and to be honest, I don't see anything doubtful about what you're saying. Like, the orbs are pretty common. When it comes to, and I wish Chris was here, but it sounds like he DM'd me. I don't know if he's going to be making it for the rest, because we're probably going to get out of here in about 25 minutes. But I do want to kind of give you guys my actual experience with this. Was there anything else you wanted to add, Cizo, before I jumped?
No, it was basically it. I had a great time on it. I mean, you actually, since you're into if people are like interested and not just here, but like that'll eventually watch this video, which let's hope for a lot. But if you're ever interested in going on haunted tours or like into paranormal investigation, stuff like that, don't get caught up in like those tourist trap places. Like, there's a lot of them out there, especially like, that might want to take you to like Bates Hotel or something like that. You're going to pay an arm and a leg. If you can contact, there's plenty, you can look them up, Google it. There's paranormal investigators that like the extra help if you're serious, because they have the devices, but they have lack of people. The more people you have to go do these investigations, volunteers, the more space they can cover, the more they can gather information and data. And that's what they're trying to do. And so if you're really interested into it, you can contact a local paranormal society and they would invite you out and take you out there to places. It's really big this time of the year. You can look it up. There's people advertising like, come out, we're going to do this and that, but stay away from cemetery walks, shit like that. I can tell you that's one of the things they told us, that cemeteries are overrated because it's not a controlled environment. There's too many outside influences. When you're out there, you got critters, you got all these different things, noises, inside like a building or a house or something like that. It's a controlled environment, and you can, find out like who's here, whatever. The trippy one is when you say that it's an all male investigative team and they're him and women's voices. I mean, that's a trip.
Well, and one of these days, Steezo, I think we should, as a channel, right? Because Star Wars Dog, you, Chris, like, I mean, you guys have stuck around and done like one of these days we should plan a trip and maybe go stay at some haunted place, or do something like this.
He's like,
if you're down, Jim.
If you recall what I said about the Ouija board, I mean, maybe you just don't tempt shit like that.
Yeah, I'm not saying we do this next year. I'm saying maybe in the future we maybe do something like this.
You can take tours. You can take tours. Like,
I'll bring the salt.
Yeah.
You went. Your brother worked at the Winchester Mystery House, dude. That place is supposedly haunted.
Okay,
right?
so
that's a
okay,
tour you can go there.
Hang on, Daimyo. To that, this is my response.
Brother, what's that? What's that, brother?
That's a great clip. I didn't even see that.
Awesome.
One.
I made it while we were live.
Okay,
That's why I was so
say,
quiet.
I didn't see that one, brother. And I've seen
what is that? Yeah, that's
brother. So I'll just touch quickly on that before jumping into what I wanted to tell tonight. My brother worked there back when we were in high school. He had just quickly in passing, like, at the Winchester Mystery House, he had quickly, like, I asked him about it. Like, he had said that quite a few times during his experience working there, like closing out, because he worked in the gift shop.
Mm-hmm.
They'd be in charge of like going and turning all the lights off upstairs, locking everything up, and then like multiple times, like at the end of the shift, after everything's closed and turned off upstairs, they'd start hearing doors opening and shutting, and like footsteps like up at the floor above, and they would just, nope, and like, we're getting out of here. Everything's closed. We did our job. We're getting out of here. Like, there's nothing crazy, but like that's the extent of it that like he would. And if you guys, because we're not going to linger on this too much, we're going to end out pretty soon. But yeah, like, look up the Winchester Mystery House. There's a long history. It's
wild.
Yeah, she's like the wife of the
Henry Winchester.
The Winchester guns, so like, and he apparently didn't, I think it was he or she, the wife, like, they felt guilty about the amount of people that were killed with the guns that they used or made.
Yep.
And that's what the whole idea of the haunting is at that house.
She was into the occult. She went to seances and fucked with Ouija boards and shit like that.
Yeah, and she also
she believes it's like she.
Go on.
Go ahead.
No, go on.
I was just gonna say that she believed that, like, if you didn't stop construction on the house, she'd die. Like, if she stopped construction on the house, she'd die.
I was gonna say,
and so there's
she was building doors on the second floor that were leading outside. Like,
yeah, like straight, like 30-foot drop, like stairs that literally lead to nowhere. Like, I think there's like 2,000 doors or something like that in the house.
Yeah, it's a weird place. But again, maybe we do a stream on the Winchester Mystery House later, after, I don't know when we would do it, or maybe just we do a video on it.
Cool, like I was thinking about
potential for the future.
Strange places.
Yeah, we can start doing a segment on that. I'm gonna leave it there on Winchester. I want to kind of wrap it up because I want all of your guys' thoughts on this. So, up until about 10 years old to 12 years old, I couldn't go to sleep. Like, I couldn't, unless I was fully covered, like with blankets, I wouldn't be able to fall asleep up until about 10. And then around like 12, 13, 14, I started getting this memory or thought of someone sitting on my bedside, rubbing my back. And when I was about 5, we moved to my grandma's house because our house was being remodeled, and I ended up sleeping in the room where my grandfather died when my mom was 12. And she like, I never knew my grandpa, but he basically had a heart attack in the doorway and fell over and died in the room that I was sleeping in. And I started getting this memory like reoccurring. Like, I didn't know if it was a dream or a memory, but I started connecting the dots that like I was scared to go to sleep by myself. I also grew up sleeping in like a shared bedroom with my brothers. So like you could argue that like there's a thing about sleeping alone, but I started getting this regular memory of me waking up or no, like feeling someone touching my back and rubbing my back, and then me opening my eyes and no one's there, and then crying and getting freaked out, and then going to my parents out in the living room. And so kept happening around 15 years old. I finally just like my mom picked me up from a sports game or something like that. And I remember like asking her like, "Hey, I have this memory of exactly what I just told you guys, that like I would wake up in the middle of the night, cry, and then go to you guys. Like, did that ever happen?" And her response was, like, that didn't happen once. That happened throughout the year that we lived there. So every couple of weeks, I would wake up crying, go to my parents, and I don't remember the other times, but she told me like that was her response, that like it wasn't one time standalone. Like, I would regularly come to them and be like, "There's someone in my bedroom," as a child. And so,
Ooh,
yeah, and
hell no.
for the longest time, I didn't talk to anyone about this except my parents, because like people are gonna think I'm
feel
crazy. I've told a
like-
few of my friends, but like I'm telling you guys, like like we've talked about this stuff a lot. I thought this was a perfect time to say it, but like this is something that like, again, like I have no reason to make this up. Like I've talked to my parents, my dad. I've talked to my dad extensively about this, and he thinks like 100% it was my mom's dad. Like it's too much of a coincidence. Like, I only have one memory. They have multiple memories of this. And it's not just the living room. I'm going into their bedroom and I'm crying and being like, "There's someone in my room with me." And it's the same room that my grandpa died in.
You're getting up, going to your parents and giving them this.
I say, hold up, wait a minute, something ain't right.
Yeah. So I know you came into this skeptical, Jim, but I do want your perspective on this, like, because this is something I haven't. Obviously, this is the first time I've told you about this, right?
My curiosity immediately is: did it feel malice at all, or did you just feel a presence?
Comforting, but scary. Comforting, but scary. That's what I'm saying. There was no malice.
Likely because it's unnatural, unexpected. It's not something that you would be accustomed to.
Was it just a presence though, or did you physically feel him touching your back?
I felt it. Like, the memory I have, the one memory I have is someone touching my back, and I wake up because of it. So I wake up because I feel someone touching me.
When did this stop?
Huh?
When did this stop?
The like the action of them sitting on my bed, or
nope, just all of it.
Again, it was blocked out, which is another thing. Like, it was a residual memory. It's not a normal memory of like this happened. It was like it came back to, because I grew up being scared. Like, when I would go to my other this was on my mom's side of this happened, but when I was at my dad's side, like sleeping at their house, I couldn't go to sleep unless I was fully covered. And this happened until I was 12. Like, I could not physically get comfortable unless I was fully
under
covered.
the covers, just full on.
No, God!
No! God, please, no! 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 No!
I mean, that's how I was if I had to sleep alone somewhere. I'm being totally honest. Like it was actually like it again, this sounds wild, but like this is actually like was a big part of my life. Like I was terrified like for a long time to just go to sleep by myself.
Yeah, I'm sure.
You know, and the it was a physical, I felt a touch, and it was what is the word benevolent? Yeah, benevolent. You know,
Benevolent.
yeah.
Benevolent's nice. Malevolent's bad.
Oh, yeah. Benevolent then, right? Like calm. It was like a grandfather would sit there
Right.
at the bedside of a child and stroke their back. That's what I felt. But when I woke up to see no one there, the feeling what I remember was like
Freaked out.
it's not my parents and no one's in my room with me. But I woke up and the memory that I'm trying to think of right now is like a silhouette. Just but then like nothing, you know. I wake up to a silhouette, but then nothing. That's kind of how I saw it. And I don't expect people to I don't even expect you guys to believe this because it's just something I'm saying, but like
personal experience.
Well, I believe it.
You experience it, whether we believe it or not is irrelevant.
Yeah.
It's a personal experience, and whether it was what you thought it was or think it is, it may not be that, but it's still an experience. So I'm not going to deny you didn't have an experience at all. I just can't say that that's what it was.
Yeah.
If you think it was your grandfather or whatever, then good. I mean, and because you do have a good feeling about it, right? What you don't want is like, oh, well, I still have somebody fucking with me still like as of last week and I still sleep with my head over my covers.
No, and that's not it at all anymore. I have, as I've been listening to to the stuff, it's starting to come back and I'll wake up and be like, oh wait, I'm not 5 anymore. But you know, at the same time, I'm like the real thing that got me as like growing up with this was like when I talked to my parents about it finally, because I sat on this for years, you know, and just like didn't say anything. And then when I finally did, they said, no, that wasn't like a one-time memory. Like in fact, I kind of want to talk to them more about it now that I'm an adult, because I talked to them as a teenager. Like they told me originally, like it happened way more times than what I had remembered. Like, and it wasn't just in the living room that I'd come out crying. I would wake them up and be like, there's someone in my room with me, you know, like that's really where it freaked me out. Cause I was like, and again, it wasn't like a scary, like poltergeist situation. Like my parents legitimately think my grandpa was still in the room that he died in, you know? So that's really where, for me, I was like, that's kind of what cemented my belief in spirits, because like there just happened to have been like and again, like you guys know, I'm super into UFOs. I've never come to you guys and said, I've seen a UFO before, you know, but when it comes to ghosts, like this is something that like it's personal, you know, I'm telling you guys now, like, but I've only told a handful of friends, like not even a handful, like less than one hand of friends I've told, you know, it's something that like, because look, I don't want people to sit here and be like, this guy's a fucking psycho and he's a liar. You know, that's the last thing I want. But it is something that like it's part of my life. It happened. I don't like go around. I don't go around flaunting it, but like that is something that happened, and I still kind of like get a little freaked out when my feet are sticking out of the covers type of thing. I'm not like terrified, but I am kind of like, oh shit. Like, is there going to be someone like at my bedside?
What you experience is pretty common. I mean, even as a kid, I mean, I think we all had times where we were scared of the dark. You heard, the boogeyman, whatever. I didn't have that experience as a kid growing up in my house. I always felt my house when I stayed there was a safe spot. But my grandparents' house, when I would stay there, if I slept, and a lot of this has to do too is because I had my uncles were like, they like to play pranks and stuff, and they used to like to tell ghost stories and stuff, and they told the story about my grandparents' house at the time when they had bought that house. They said, oh, did you hear about that the people here, the person that lived here got murdered, all this like 10 years ago. They were,
Nice.
and I believed it. And then my grandpa was in on the joke, and we believe all of us, his grandkids believed it for like 5 or 6 years until finally my grandma was like, they're just messing with you. Don't listen to them. But dude, we were scared. I was so scared to stay there. Like when I would go down to visit them, I'd want to sleep in their room, or I would be like, hey, is my cousin coming over? Can we sleep in the same bed, bro? I was scared, bro. I'm not even, I'd get the heebie-jeebies. I go in the house, like I'd be looking, they'd have like these like weird pictures and stuff, like, you know, black and white pictures, and it's relatives and loved ones. You're like, that shit, you like in the haunted mansion at Disneyland, bro. Like I was like tripping when I was there. I was like, dude, I'm gonna stay here.
You're ready to try to bless them away like this.
Dude, I remember that just because you play that clip. I remember my sister, like we're like 8 or 9 at my other grandparents' house. She was like, I remember getting like her bitching at me, like, because we're in the same bed, and she's like, give me some covers, but I'm wrapped up like a mummy. Like I'm like literally wrapped up like a mummy.
Like your shield,
like because I was hearing noises, and she had a bunch of like. Actually, now I own those like what are they called? The cloth that the Egypt the what's it called? The Pyrus, yeah. So they had a bunch of Egyptian like paintings in the room that we were sleeping in, like on Pyrus that they got from Egypt. And like I was just terrified from those as a kid, and then hearing like the air conditioning unit going off in the side yard. I was like, nah, fuck you. I don't care what you want. I'm fucking wrapping up in these covers.
Yeah, being a kid was crazy, man. Like, but bumps in the night and shit like that. Yeah, I was one of those. I got scared, but I never was scared of scary movies. That's what's so weird. I could watch scary movies and stuff growing up, and I ended up laughing at them because I thought they were so corny. But like, it was that real life shit. Like I would hear life stories or whatever, and I would all of a sudden start like looking over my shoulder, like. Dude, if I would have heard stuff about like skinwalkers if I knew about that existing when I was like 8 years old, I don't think I could have slept at night.
Bro, you talk about scary movies. When I was a kid, Darkness Falls came out, and that's the one with the evil tooth fairy.
I've heard of it. I've never seen
that shit was so goddamn scary to me.
Yeah,
I was still at that age where you stick your tooth under the pillow and shit like that. But
yeah, I mean, my parents were pretty strict. I wasn't able to watch scary movies. I didn't get affected by that.
Right. Yeah.
13 Ghosts. Oh my god.
Yeah.
The first scary movie I watched was like Sleepy Hollow and Sixth Sense, and that was out like
scary. Those are just like good classic films. I'm talking like the 70s, like The Omen and The Exorcist. You watch those nowadays because they're so old, they still are cringe. You know what I mean? They're still cringe.
I might watch The Exorcist soon. To be honest,
The Exorcist is good. I personally like The Omen and Omen 2, and I like what the hell? Salem's Lot, the original from the 70s. I'm not big on vampire movies, but that vampire movie is fucking crazy.
Do you remember
that's something too? Anybody who's watching this, watching it back, not live or anything like that, drop a comment on what movie terrified you as a kid. That still sticks with you to this day. Like I said, for me, that's Darkness Falls. Or Darkness Falls. Like that. That's just one of them. Do your job. Put it in the comments, and we'll respond to it.
Well,
create a watch list, man, because I'll go back and watch some movies I haven't seen.
Sure, hell yeah.
Listen, everyone. Thank you for showing up tonight. For those who are in stream, and thank you for anyone that decides to watch this on replay. And thank you to Star Wars Dog, Steezo, and the Great Pilgrim, and King Chris, even though they had to cut out short. This was a fun stream. I'm glad we got to do this one. I
Good to
think
get
it
the
was,
band back together.
yeah, it was a long time waiting. Next week we're doing weather manipulation. The two hurricanes. Probably going to get into the election a little bit. It'll be a little bit more political than normal.
Yeah, it'll have political leanings for
and
sure.
Please, anyone that's into college football, please go subscribe and watch Star Wars Dog. Obviously, you can see what team he's rooting for.
Hey, and you'll catch Damio if he isn't being a little bitch and
yeah, or getting too fucked up or what normally what I'm doing. But yeah, you know, if you guys like college football, please go watch Star Wars Dog. Steezo, I know you don't have your channel up and going
Not
yet, but
no, not active, but
yeah,
you'll find us on where we reside,
yeah. And you know, he's doing videos with me all the time. Great Pilgrim, I know you've mentioned the channel at one point or another. I hope you get that going.
Eventually.
Yeah. He's clearly Lord of the Rings focused and Tolkien. But listen, everyone, I appreciate you guys coming out tonight and watching us. And it looks like Dog wants to say something real quick.
Yeah, if you've made it this far, be sure, if you haven't already, make sure that subscribe button is hit. And might as well turn the bell on too. Whenever we go live, you're not going to want to miss it, man.
Yeah.
It's always fun conversation. Be a part of it. Get in chat. Keep up to date with us. We're trying to give you some good information, some good times, good talks, and I appreciate everybody that decides to be here.
Yeah, and on that note, we just launched a Discord server for this channel specifically. If you guys like paranormal, aliens, like any of this kind of fringe stuff, please join us there. We have good conversations, posting links, you know, having good talks, just, you know, over text. So anyway, guys, good night. Thank you for showing up, and I appreciate all of you. Later.
Later.
Peace.